But the truth is, I won because of something Fast Eddie's brother did, or more precisely, didn't do. Fast Eddie's lawyer decided it would be a good idea to humanize his client for the jury, and so he called Eddie's brother to the stand. The brother was a very likable person who made a good impression with the jury. After asking some soft questions and getting helpful answers, Fast Eddie's lawyer confidently asked the brother-in-law the money question. What is Eddie's reputation as a law-abiding citizen? This is a question commonly asked of a defendant's friends and relations, and I fully expected a resounding endorsement of Fast Eddie's outstanding reputation as a law-abiding citizen. But that's not what happened. Fast Eddie's poor brother couldn't answer the question. He looked at Eddie briefly, and then he looked at his shoes for a long time, obviously engaged in a profound inner struggle. Then he looked at me, and then at the judge, and then he looked at his shoes again. But not a word came out of his mouth. Fast Eddie's brother just couldn't lie, not even for Fast Eddie. The jury convicted on all counts, and I imagine Thanksgiving dinner was a bit awkward after that. In the matter of Fast Eddie, I got lucky. And so it was in the matter of CRACK99. When we sent the money to Xiang Li, I was concerned about the possibility of a rip. Theft happens all the time in the underworld, and particularly on the internet. And an internet rip is much safer than a rip during a drug deal, where people get shot in the face. But it's still a rip. Had Xiang Li decided to take the money and run, that would have been the end of the case. Once you've been burned like that, you can't go back to the U.S. Treasury for more. But that didn't happen. The day after sending the money, we received an email with 3 RAR files, which are compressed files containing data that must be unpacked prior to use. The next question was, had we received fully operable STK software for our $1,000? This meant another trip to AGI so their technology people could examine the files and determine their authenticity and operability. Even the supremely composed Brendan Cullen was anxious at this point. The stakes for him were high. If the STK software we bought was operable, we could move forward. If not, we would not. And this false start would be for Cullen an embarrassing failed opening gambit in a new squad. The AGI Director of Technology Support opened the software. For AGI, the news was bad. It was indeed operable STK software. Precisely the kind a legitimate user would be able to access in a lawful transaction with AGI, except for one thing. The licensing restrictions had been entirely removed. So a user could, for example, load the software on multiple computers or redistribute it. Licensing files provide access to software according to the terms of the license. If you buy access for one user, the licensing file allows access to the software only for that one user. If you buy access for an entire network, then everyone on the network can legally use the software. You can buy a perpetual license or an annual license or something in between. Licensing files also permit access to the specific software program modules the user requires, and of course you pay for access. The more you pay, the more you get. From what we could see, Xiang Li had greatly simplified these rules. Step 1 must be the payment. Step 2, you get unlimited access. This was, of course, very bad news for AGI. CRACK99 was selling its flagship STK product from China for $1,000. But what was bad for AGI was good for us. Our nascent case was still alive. Cullen breathed a sigh of relief. Now that we knew it wasn't a hoax, I had to address this question. What precisely was Xiang Li's crime? Unfortunately, the answer was awash in nuance. The world of federal law enforcement abounds with invisible hazards lurking like mines just beneath the tranquil surface of an azure sea. One such hazard came from what might seem an unlikely place: the FBI.